Earth's annihilation. Long before humans existed, the Earth was ruled by demons, violent, chaotic beings that evolved by fusing with other life forms. God, angered by their brutality, tried to destroy them. In response, the fallen angel Satan, who was living on Earth in the form of a human named Ryo Asaka, led the demons in a war to survive. At some point, Ryo lost his memories and grew up as a normal human alongside Akira Fudo, a kind and deeply empathetic boy. Years later, Ryo begins to sense that the demons are returning. To prove their existence, he takes Akira to a wild underground gathering called a Sabbath, where demons reveal themselves by possessing humans. Ryo's plan is for Akira to merge with a demon but keep his human heart intact. The plan works. Akira becomes Devilman, a being with the body and power of a demon but the soul of a human. Ryo claims he wants to use Akira to protect humanity from the demons, but his true motives are much darker, even to himself. Ryo releases footage of demons to the public. Panic spreads instantly. Since demons can possess anyone, people no longer trust each other. Society collapses. Governments fail, and ordinary citizens begin killing one another out of fear. The violence between humans becomes even worse than the demons' attacks. At the center of the story is Miki, a girl who represents kindness and hope. Despite being completely human, she is brutally murdered by a terrified mob. When Akira finds her body, he loses his remaining faith in humanity. It is then that Ryo reveals the truth. He is Satan. He admits that he intentionally caused the chaos to destroy humanity, believing humans are weak and unworthy of the earth. Akira gathers other Devilmen and confronts Satan's demon army. Their final battle devastates the planet. The oceans boil, the land is burned to ash, and the atmosphere is torn apart. In the end, the earth is left lifeless. Satan and Akira lie on a small piece of rock in the middle of a dead ocean. Satan has won, but as he speaks to Akira, he realizes Akira has already died, cut in half during the battle. For the first time in his existence, Satan feels true grief and love. He cries. But before anything can change, God's judgment begins. Blinding beams of light descend from the sky, destroying the planet to reset creation. The world ends, and Satan is condemned to repeat the cycle forever, winning the world but always losing the only person he ever truly cared about. Human petrification. On what seemed like a completely normal day in the 21st century, high school student Senku Ishigami, a scientific prodigy, was in his lab while his friend Taiju prepared to confess his feelings to a girl named Yuzuriha. Without warning, a blinding green light burst from a single point on Earth and spread across the entire planet at incredible speed. It passed through buildings, underground shelters, and even airplanes in midair. The moment the light touched a human, or even a swallow, their bodies were instantly turned into a hardened stone material. People were frozen exactly as they were, driving, talking, eating, or standing still. As humanity was petrified in seconds, chaos followed. Planes fell from the sky, cars crashed, nuclear plants either melted down or shut down over time. Within minutes, civilization collapsed. Humanity was effectively wiped out, and over the next nearly 4,000 years, nature slowly reclaimed the planet. For most people, their consciousness disappeared the moment they turned to stone, but a few individuals with extraordinary mental endurance remained aware. Senku was one of them. He stayed conscious for 117,354,893,870 seconds, about 3,700 years, counting every second in total darkness to keep his mind active. Over the centuries, the world continued to change. Earthquakes, floods, and shifting land caused many stone statues to crack and shatter. In this world, a broken statue meant permanent death. The petrification was not a natural event. It was intentional, a calculated act carried out by someone or something unknown. Discovering the truth behind that green light becomes the central mystery of the story. Eventually, Senku breaks free. For centuries, drops of nitric acid, formed from bat guano in a cave, slowly weakened his stone shell. When it finally dissolved, he realized something crucial. The stone was not just a prison. It functioned as a form of biological stasis, preserving life rather than destroying it. Third impact. Millions of years ago, an advanced alien race scattered seeds of life across the universe to spread existence to different planets. Each seed was sent inside a massive vessel called a moon and equipped with a Lance of Longinus, a fail-safe weapon meant to prevent two seeds from activating on the same world. Two seeds ended up on Earth. The first was Adam, who arrived in the white moon at the South Pole. Adam was meant to populate the planet with powerful, godlike beings. The second was Lilith, who arrived later in the black moon by accident. Two seeds were never supposed to coexist on one planet. As a result, Adam's lance activated automatically and placed him in a dormant state. That allowed Lilith's LCL, a primordial life-forming substance, to spread across Earth. From that substance, human life eventually evolved. In this mythology, humans are actually descendants of Lilith and are considered the 18th angel. The giant creatures that later attack humanity are the offspring of Adam trying to reclaim the planet. In the year 2000, human scientists discovered Adam frozen in Antarctica. During an experiment, they triggered his awakening. The result was a catastrophic explosion known as the second impact. It melted polar ice caps, altered Earth's axis, and killed half of the global population. The public was told it was a meteor strike, but in reality, it was the consequence of tampering with a godlike being. This event sets the stage for the third impact. By the end of the story, several groups attempt to initiate third impact for different reasons. At its core, however, the plan is about forced human evolution. Humans suffer because they are separated by physical bodies and psychological barriers known as AT fields. These barriers protect individuality but also create loneliness, rejection, and emotional pain. The goal of third impact is to break down every AT field. When that happens, all human bodies dissolve into LCL, and every soul merges into a single collective consciousness. Individual identity disappears. There is no more separation, no more rejection, no more self or other, just one unified existence. The event itself unfolds in surreal, disturbing imagery. When Shinji Ikari is given control over the outcome, a massive white figure of Rei Ayanami, merged with Adam and Lilith, rises into the sky, towering over the planet. People begin seeing visions of loved ones. When they reach out for comfort, their bodies lose form and dissolve into orange liquid. Their souls are drawn into a vast metaphysical vessel, symbolized by the black moon held by the giant Rei. The horror is not only physical, but emotional. Third impact occurs because Shinji, overwhelmed by despair and self-hatred, briefly believes a world without individual hearts might be better than one where people hurt each other. The imagery combines religious symbolism, crosses of light, halo-like forms, crucifixion motifs, with biological and psychological horror. It concludes with a world that is a silent, red ocean wasteland, where the only two people left have to figure out if being an individual and the pain that comes with it is worth it. The Rumbling. For about 100 years, the remaining humans lived behind three enormous walls. They believed they were the last survivors of humanity, hiding from giant humanoid creatures known as titans that devoured people. Eventually, they uncover a devastating truth. They are not alone. Across the sea, there is an entire world of advanced nations. The people inside the walls belong to a race called Eldians, who possess the biological ability to transform into titans. Because of this power, the rest of the world sees them as dangerous devils and believes they should be wiped out. Another shocking revelation follows. The three walls are not made of stone. They are composed of millions of Colossus titans, each about 60 meters tall, hardened and packed tightly together to form the structure. The Rumbling is the release of those titans. When Eren Yeager gains control of the founding titans' power, he commands the titans within the walls to awaken and begin marching. They move in an enormous formation that stretches across entire continents. The scale is overwhelming, but what makes it truly horrifying is how systematic it is. Each titan emits extreme heat and steam. As they advance, they crush everything beneath their feet: cities, forests, wildlife, and countless civilians, flattening the world into rubble. There is no safe place to run. The line of titans is so wide that escape becomes nearly impossible. Survivors describe the sound as constant thunder, with the ground comes shaking long before the Titans even come into view. The most tragic part is that Eren, the one who initiates the rumbling, began the story as its hero. He decides that the only way to save his friends and homeland from being destroyed by the outside world is to destroy the outside world first. In his mind, genocide becomes a form of protection. People are shown staring at a horizon filled with steam and fire, realizing that no mountain is high enough and no ocean is deep enough to shield them. The rumbling devastates the planet, leaving behind a barren wasteland where ecosystems, cities, and centuries of history are erased.
The Eclipse. The story begins with Guts, a hardened and cynical warrior who wields an enormous sword,
and Griffith, the charismatic and brilliant leader of a mercenary group known as the Band of the Hawk. Griffith's dream is simple but enormous. He wants his own kingdom. He is not born into royalty. He is a commoner who believes he is destined for greatness. Guts becomes his strongest soldier and eventually his closest companion. Under Griffith's command, the Band of the Hawk rises to fame and helps end a century-long war, becoming celebrated heroes. Griffith carries a strange object called the Crimson Behelit, a fleshy, egg-shaped talisman said to grant its owner the world in exchange for their flesh and blood. The turning point comes when Guts decides to leave the Band of the Hawk to pursue his own purpose. Griffith, who viewed Guts as someone who belonged to him, emotionally collapses. In his reckless state, he makes disastrous political decisions, is imprisoned, and endures a full year of extreme torture. By the time Guts rescues him, Griffith's body is destroyed, his tendons severed, his tongue removed. He can no longer fight, rule, or achieve his dream. Overwhelmed by despair, Griffith attempts to end his life. At that lowest moment, his blood activates the Behelit. This triggers a supernatural event known as the Eclipse. The sky darkens, and the Band of the Hawk is transported to a horrific otherworldly realm. 5 godlike beings called the God Hand appear and offer Griffith a choice. He can be reborn as a powerful godlike entity and still obtain his kingdom, but only if he sacrifices what matters most to him. To Griffith, the Band of the Hawk, the soldiers who loved him, and the friend who saved him are the fuel for his dream. Griffith looks at his broken body, then at his friends, and utters the famous words, "I sacrifice." Every member of the band is marked with a brand of sacrifice, a symbol that attracts demonic creatures. What follows is not a battle, but a massacre. Monstrous beings known as apostles descend and slaughter the Hawks in brutal fashion. Griffith is encased in a cocoon and reborn as Femto, the newest member of the God Hand. In his new demonic form, he commits a deeply traumatic act against Casca, the band's commander and Guts' lover, while forcing Guts to watch helplessly. The act is meant to destroy Guts emotionally and sever any remaining humanity Griffith once had. When the eclipse ends, only Guts and Casca survive. Both bear the brand of sacrifice, which means they now exist between the physical and spiritual worlds. Because of this, they are relentlessly hunted by demons every night for the rest of their lives.
Uchiha Massacre. The story takes place in the Hidden Leaf Village, which was founded by 2 powerful clans, the Senju, led by Hashirama, and the Uchiha, led by Madara. Although they created the village together, the balance of power quickly shifted. Hashirama became the first Hokage, and over time, the Uchiha began to feel excluded from real leadership. To keep them occupied and monitored, the village assigned the Uchiha to run the police force. While this seemed like an honorable role, it distanced them from the political center of the village and deepened their isolation. Years later, the 9-tailed fox suddenly attacked the village, causing massive destruction and countless deaths. The Uchiha clan possessed a rare eye ability called the Sharingan, which allowed them to perceive fast movements and even control powerful beasts. Because the fox appeared to be under someone's control, suspicion immediately fell on the Uchiha. As a result, the clan was relocated to a secluded area on the edge of the village and placed under constant surveillance by the Black Ops. Feeling discriminated against and blamed for something they didn't prove they did, resentment within the clan grew. Eventually, they began secretly planning a coup to take control of the village. At the center of this crisis was Itachi Uchiha, a child prodigy who had witnessed the horrors of war at a young age and deeply valued peace. peace. He was both a member of the Uchiha clan and a captain in the village's Black Ops, which made him a double agent. His clan wanted him to spy on the village leadership, and the village wanted him to report on his clan. Itachi realized that if the coup happened, it would weaken the Hidden Leaf and likely trigger a massive war with other nations. The village elders then forced an impossible choice on him: side with his clan and allow a civil war that could lead to widespread destruction, including the death of his younger brother Sasuke, or side with the village and eliminate his own clan before the rebellion could begin. In exchange, Sasuke's life would be spared. On a single night, Itachi Uchiha, aided by a mysterious masked accomplice, systematically murdered every man, woman, and child in his clan. When he reached his own home, his parents didn't fight back. They told him they were proud of the person he had become and asked him to look after Sasuke. With tears in his eyes, he killed them. He left Sasuke alive, but made himself the villain in his brother's eyes. He claimed he killed the clan to test his own strength and told Sasuke to grow strong enough to kill him one day. Itachi then left the village as a criminal, accepting hatred and isolation to protect the peace and ensure his brother's survival. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.